Hello everyone, and welcome to this last webinar dedicated to the LEDGER, the Human-Centric Venture Builder Program, which is funded by the European Commission under Horizon 2020. I'm Cassandra Holden, and I will be your host for today's webinar. So thank you for your interest in this webinar. I know you're all very excited to know more about LEDGER. If you are experiencing any audio issues, you can connect and dial directly at 33 974 590-053 with the access code on the screen. So as you know, this project is a real game changer in decentralized technology, and we're very happy to give you some more details and explain further what the project is all about. This will be in an interactive webinar, so we have some questions for you at the end, and also a Q&A session where you can ask directly all your questions in the dedicated question box. This question box is situated on the right side of your screen, so you can directly type your questions within the pop-ups. So I'm very pleased to have with us today three of our participants. So we have Andres Sanchez-Sandaza, Director of FundingBox. Hi, Andres.
Hi, Cassandra. Hello, everyone. Pleased to have you. Hope we sort out your questions and you enjoy the webinar and learn a bit more about LEDGER.
Thank you. We also have Elena Japunjic from DINE Legal Counsel.
Hi everyone. Hi and welcome. I hope we can answer all your questions and apply soon.
And we also have Sito on your side at DINE as well. Hello, Sito.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, myself, Cassandra Holden from Blue Morpho. So just to give us a quick overview of who we are, the consortium. So we have FundingBox, we have Dine.org and Blue Morpho. Andres, you want to give a quick overview maybe of FundingBox?
Sure. Well, FundingBox, we are a big community of over 20,000 makers, entrepreneurs, founders, designers. And we are about offering funding. We are specialized on public funding, in cascade funding. That is the kind of project LEDGER it is, where we help companies to grow. Companies, entities, startups, etc. So yes, why not? Invite you to visit us and to join the community, and there you will find other funding opportunities too, and the possibility to join many other communities.
Perfect, thank you, Andres. Sito or Elena, do you want to give us a few words about DINE?
Yes, so DINE is a non-profit foundation founded in 2005, and we are a community of researchers and developers working on human-centric solutions and softwares in order to help citizens with their everyday problems. We are promoting open source software and basically helping people. So we have 8 years of experience in distributed ledger technologies, and we started working in European projects with Decent, Decode, and PI, or Common Fair. And we are going to provide technical support throughout the LEDGER project. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And so at Blue Morpho, we're lean innovation doers. So we're working in partnering mode to design and operate ecosystems. So in order to accelerate innovation, so working in deep tech, digital, and smart systems. We're working on different bankable challenges, and we're doing so working with the whole ecosystem designing, working with large corporates, private investors, research organizations, startups, SME, but also institutions to achieve this disruptive innovation. So we're happy to collaborate with you on this project, and we're working on the business mentoring. We will also check with you your market feasibility and challenge your market traction and business value to support you in collecting the relevant financing and funding. So throughout this webinar, we'll have the opportunity to explain you more about the LEDGER project. Andres will give you an overview of the project and the eligibility criteria, how to apply, following by Elena and Sito, who will explain the different verticals, but also will focus on the three main verticals today: mobility, energy and sustainability, and open innovation. And we will wrap up with a live Q&A session where you can ask all your questions and where we'll be happy to answer. So what is LEDGER? Andres, the floor is yours.
Yes. Yes, as Cassandra said, LEDGER is a project funded by the European Commission. It's within the Next Generation Internet Initiative that basically intends to change how Internet works. And basically, LEDGER, what we are trying to empower people to solve problems using decentralized technologies. Maybe the most popular blockchain, but also peer-to-peer distributed ledger, and others that could also improve the way to make the internet more convenient for the citizen. At the end, what we are looking for here are human-centric solutions. With this, we mean that they are made that they offer something to the citizen, so that they help us to keep privacy, to improve the way we navigate. And it's a bit a trend or a movement against the big corporations that retain and use all our data. So how are we attracting and what are we offering? Well, we have the candy. The candy is the money that is always pretty exciting for anyone running a project and wanting to build something. And we are offering up to 200,000 equity free for those projects that get selected. We are going to select 32. We are having 2 open calls. The first one that is running now that will close the 30th April. And the second one that will take place either at the end of the year or beginning of next year. And that one we will select another 16 projects. Next. So what is the value proposition? As I say, is we have the money, but that is not it. We are, that is important to say, we are about building products. So we are about building MVPs, about developing something that is useful for the people. We are not about commercializing stuff or anything like that. We are about writing code and developing something that is useful for everyone. But within a part of the money, you get many other things if you get in the program. We are talking about a venture builder program of 12 months, where you get access to what we call the researcher in residence. There is an expert that will help you and mentor you in developing your product all along the process, really intense. You will get also business support, like we want that your project is sustainable, so that we want you to have a look to the market and thinking how you can make your project sustainable. You don't need to build a unicorn, you don't need, we don't want to have the next Uber. If we have it, great, but we want that projects can last longer after the funding ends. So aside, you will get through us access to a pool of investors, and we will try to find someone for you to test your solutions, so early adopters. We will invite you to different boot camps and through a venture program that we will tell you a bit more. And we also will we will have our demo day, and we will offer you exposure in different medias and through different channels. Next slide. So as you probably know, we are focusing on 6 verticals, the program. Today we are going to talk about 3 of them, but the 6 verticals are the ones that are seen in the screen: health, economy, mobility, public services, energy and sustainability, and open innovation. You have a document of reference for this in our website, ledgerproject.eu. That is what we call the work program, where you have specific information about each of the topics, so you get a clear picture of what we are looking for. In any case, we are going to talk a bit later about the three topics that are that we are paying specific attention today in the webinar. Next. Cito.
Yeah, well, hi everybody, Cito Veracruz. I am project manager at DINE, and yeah, I'll give you here an overview about how the Builder program will work during the coming 12 months since the end of the evaluation. So as you can see, there are 2 months since the 30th of April, where the open call is closed, until the jury day. The jury day to happen, already confirmed, on 28th of May here in Amsterdam. In that day, 32 teams will present their projects here, and 16 of them will be chosen for attending the selected for the program. The next moment we will see these 16 teams will be 1 month later in the welcome event. The idea of the welcome event is to start working all together to see an overview of the work to be done, and also to assign the experts and the mentors that will support these 16 teams during the 9 months of the first stage of the Venture Builder program. 1 month later of that, it will be the Inception Bootcamp, and this time the idea will be to do an evaluation of the work program that the teams have been working on to evaluate which is their plan to work during the next month. After that, there will be like 3 months later, there will be a bootcamp, a longer bootcamp of 3-4 days, where we will work with the teams in designing more in-depth usability of the projects, and also working with the different verticals, with the teams of different verticals in specific topics about their topic, about their vertical. And after that, 2 months later, there will be the last bootcamp of this initial phase, which will be already focused in the MVP. So 1 month before finishing these 9 months, there will be this pre-MVP bootcamp, working already in the final aspects and working in addressing the MVP from a market oriented perspective. After that, it will be the demo day, and in the demo day, the 8 best teams will be selected to continue for 3 more months with a mentorship already focused more into business aspects, into market aspects, with the 15K additional funding, because the 9 first months are funded with 150K, and the other 3 months with another 50,000 euros. So this is the basic overview of the program. So the next slide, Elena.
Hello. So as we heard, the current economic models on the internet treat data as a form of capital. So the companies hoard, proprietarize, and monetize as much data as they can. So the mission is to eliminate concentration of data in a few proprietary platforms by accelerating 32 bottom-up experiments on human-centric values, as we heard. So today we're going to focus on the 3 out of above mentioned verticals: mobility, energy and sustainability, and open innovation. Next slide, please. So mobility. We have, as we all experienced, new collaborative and mobility as a service business models that are generating new economic value in this industry. So we are all using Uber or something like that in order to move around So the vehicles are not that important as is the software and collecting of data. So the goal is to promote a new decentralized standard for mobility governance. Proposals should aim at the design, implementation, and deployment of models to build and pay for services on a decentralized and interoperable mobility ecosystem. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, mobility as a service. So the expected impact of applicants in the LEDGER project is viability in traffic with more intelligent data collection, fostering models that reduce reliance on fossil fuels and promote green energy-powered mobility, and decentralization in logistics for supply chain management, for example, and such. Next slide, please. So MVPs, or minimum viable products, should relate to open, transparent, and privacy-aware data mining techniques at the service of more than one efficient and resilient transport system. So examples include, but are not limited to, implementing decentralized data governance for vehicles registration, tagging, and tracking, also without the use of traditional plates, so especially in cross-border scenarios. New models for distributed ownership of an insurance on vehicles, decentralized mobility network monitoring and maintenance, and everything else that comes to mind considering mobility. Next slide, please. So, energy and sustainability. The energy sector is dominated by legacy public-private national energy distributed companies where energy infrastructure and business models are centralized. So we all know that we don't have that much choice when it comes to energy providers. We all choose the AC grid provider that's usually controlled or influenced by the state, or just one provider that managed to hold the infrastructure in their hands. So producers drain data and value from consumers on the main AC grid, still relying on fossil fuels and an obsolete proprietary distribution system. So that is the problem, especially with the new policy reforms caused by the EU 2020 Climate and Energy Package from 2010. So that will pose a new challenge for energy distributors. So the goal is to enable the process of collecting and distributing energy and related data as a common, accessible for everyone to meet basic needs and reduce dependency from dominant industry actors. So proposals should tackle issues such as carbon footprint reduction and ocean pollution, if you're up to it. Alternative food production, so tagging and food chain management systems, the creation and distribution of new and less pollutant materials, or the reuse and recycling of existing ones. Next slide, please. So the expected impact on MVPs is that they should enable more cooperative, sustainable, and resilient decentralized model for natural resources management. So efficiency and saving opportunities of the consumers acquiring energy from traditional sources is acceptable as well, of course. Examples are including, but are not limited to, MVPs for decentralized renewable energy production, passive and active housing, that's very popular right now, and all debate whether you should go for the passive house or the active house that has a new meaning nowadays. Decentralized billing and renewable energy production and accounting system in privacy by design and secure environments. So everything that can help consumers and everything that you think of as a consumer in your everyday life that can maybe secure your data, make your energy more safe, efficient, cheaper, and also smart metering in that context. Next slide, please. Then we have the last one, open innovation. So the goal of this vertical is to provide support for best internet innovators in order to include them in LEDGER project with their human-centric solutions to address as many social problems as possible. So we want everyone to join, even though they don't find themselves in other defined five verticals. So this vertical will offer a space for internet innovators who will be able to submit proposals in areas not included in the 5 verticals clusters, but or also that can span their influence through more than one described vertical. So if you have an idea that spans over more than one vertical, this is the vertical that you should apply under. So the scope: proposals that are encouraged to endorse cross-cutting approach, so interdisciplinary approach, thinking outside of the box within LEDGER verticals framework, as we described them before and earlier. So the common element for applications to this vertical is the focus on human-centric nature of the solutions, like in all other verticals throughout the LEDGER project. Next slide, please. So the expected impacts for the MVPs should address topics related to sustainable development goals not addressed in other verticals, as well as they should contribute to diffusion of solutions, ecosystems, or tools that are not contemplated in the 5 verticals, as I already mentioned. So sky's the limit, essentially, or even not the sky. MVPs can build decentralized data governance tools to address issues such as gender equality, which is very important at the moment, and make both private and public institutions accountable at all levels. Urgent migration crisis in the south of Europe and in general in the world, that is also something that is very contemporary and is happening everywhere, all over the world. So if you can help to solve that with a human in mind, that would be great, and we will help you with our technical solutions. Also, quality of education of European citizens and residents, maybe, including arts and humanities in the technical discourse, enhance cybersecurity levels of citizens and consumers. So essentially, everything you think of with human in the center can be applicable to the LEDGER project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena, for this very deep description and very thorough description. Now we will let Andres explain us a bit more about the eligibility criteria.
Yes. All right. So eligibility is crucial. So we invite you to take really good attention to it, because if you don't comply with the minimum requirements, your proposal won't be evaluated. So teams. In this case, we accept 2 types of team. It can be legal entities with a maximum of 2, so it can be even a consortium of 2 entities, or teams of individuals. In both cases, we request that you have at least 3 profiles on your team. A researcher, with this we mean an academic researcher, someone who has done research. The minimum requirement is that that person has passed the let's say the master degree that gives you access to the PhD. You don't need to have a PhD, or if you have a research paper published, that will be valid too. Then we want to see a developer in the team. This is about developing a product, so we need a lead developer here. Indeed, we encourage that team has even more than 1 developer, so they can progress faster in the development of the product. And we also want to see what we call a business development or an entrepreneur, and this is to complement the team and to try to propose a solution that is sustainable in the long term. So that is not just something that get developed and no one use, but that it looks for usability and it looks for sustainability. We are accepting proposals from legally established either entities or teams based in EU or associated countries. This is a bit specific. If you are applying as a legal entity, it has to be based in Europe or in an associated country. If you are applying as a team of individuals, you have to assure us that along the length of the program, the venture program, that is 12 months, the team or the core team with the 3 members at least will be based in EU member state or associated country. Then there is also a criteria about gender balance. We are highly encouraging gender balance in the teams. There are been many research studies that show that teams with gender balance perform better, and we are also politically, supporting this. And indeed, if you don't have gender balance, you won't be able to get the maximum points in the evaluation. So that's also a relevant point. So we encourage you, if you have a team and you don't have that gender balance, to look someone who can complement the team. Next slide.
Okay, before we go on to the selection process, I have a question for you, the audience. So don't worry, it's very easy. Have you started your application? So you should have a pop-up screen on your screen where you can answer the question directly to have a feel of where you are in the process as a whole. We see that the questions and the answers are coming in, so we'll wait a few seconds more. Okay, so we see that about 60% have started their application, but there's still 30% of the attendees that have not started. So as you know, you only have 1 week left, so do not wait the last minute. Another question for you, are you going to apply as a team of individuals or as an entity? So the question box, the answer box or question box should be on your screen. If we wait a few seconds more. Okay, interesting. So we have about 50% of the attendees who will apply as a legal entity, about 35% will apply as a team, and 10% still do not know. So interesting to see how both are being distributed. So next, how is the application process itself? Andreas, I'll leave the floor to you again.
Yep. So, well, as you know, or you should know, the deadline is getting really close. The 30th April 6 p.m. CEST is the deadline to submit. But as you may know, or maybe you don't, you can submit your application at any time and keep working on it. So we highly recommend that once you have fulfilled all the fields that are mandatory, you click the submit button, and then you can keep working on the application. And it will keep the changes, and it will be a good way to avoid last minute problems that they always appear. So please try to fulfill all the mandatory fields and push the submit button so you can avoid that your application finally doesn't get into the pipeline for any reason. So the application process, we are in this phase where you are through you can access the application form through ledgerproject.eu. Then you click the open call tab, and we'll drive you to the FundingBox platform where you should fulfill your applications. That you have quite a lot of questions to fulfill. This is being a really competitive process. We are having a lot of applications, So we encourage you to spend time on the proposal to make it competitive, because it's not going to be easy to get to the program. Again, check the eligibility criteria. There are 2 key documents. The guide for applicants is maybe the master document for the application. Read it. It may take you a bit of time, but it's worthwhile to read it. The work program will guide you through the topics. And if you have more questions, you have the FAQ guide. And of course, the community that we highly recommend you all to join. And there are being made many questions, so you can check many questions there and make your own. And we will also keep everything updated of what is happening around LEDGER there. So please join it. So once we get the applications, the 30th April, then we got in the evaluation phase. We will take out the proposals that don't comply with the eligibility, and we will do what we call a pre-scoring, so that we make a ranking, and then we assign the proposal to experts. So every proposal will be evaluated by 2 experts at least. We will try to make that one is a technical expert and one a non-technical expert in the area or in the vertical you have applied to. They will do this external evaluation, so they are not people related, not people working in our organizations. So with this, we want to assure that the process is really transparent and that we are not choosing the ones, but independent experts. That will shape a ranking of 32 projects that will be invited to the jury day. The jury day will be taking place the 28th May. Is the first time we mentioned the day that the jury day will take place in Amsterdam. And for that day, we expect the teams to physically come to Amsterdam to pitch to a jury there. The jury will be composed by the members of the consortium, but also for some external experts that are part of our advisory board, that are really well-known people in the field, and that will help us to select the 16 awarded projects. So 32 will go to the final, 16 will go into the program. So if you go to the jury day, you are getting really close. You have 50% of chances to get into the program. Next. Yeah, here you have the basic information, as we already mentioned. 30th April, you have 7 days. You are still on time, but if you haven't started, please do as soon as possible. And as I say, submit push the submit button as soon as possible, so you are in and you avoid any last trouble in the last minutes. That's the URL, where that is the starting point for everything. From there, you get access to the community, to the open call, to the work program, etc., etc.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Andres. So now we can move on to the Q&A session. I see that we have a lot of questions that came in and that we have a team that responded. Thank you, Cito, Almudena, and Elena on answering. Andres, do you see the question box?
I do.
Okay, I see most of the questions have been answered. Do we have one that has not?
Yep, a few.
Okay, I have a very specific question here. So hello, do the team components need to be employed under labor employment contract? It needs to be employees under labor employment contract.
I guess we are in the case that you are applying through a legal entity, because if you are applying as a team of individuals, you don't have that issue. If you apply as a legal entity, you don't need to have all the people working full time on the company. They could act as a freelancers too, but we want to see that at least 3 people are if not full-time, almost full-time devoted to the project. And also take into account that to avoid tricky things and problems, we won't let you change the team members later if your project get awarded. So please be clear on the team members. If you don't have a team member, don't put a name just for the sake of getting a good point or anything like that. But basically answering the question, the answer is no. You don't need to have all the team full-time employee in the entity.
Okay, thank you, Andres. Okay, I have a more technical legal question. So in terms of a US company setting up an EU subsidiary for the program, would this be held against us?
The answer is, if you have a subsidiary in Europe, you are eligible. So the answer is yes. You can be a USA company, and if you have a subsidiary in Europe, you can apply and be a receptor of the funding.
Okay, perfect. Okay, another contract question. If I'm applying as a legal entity and other team members are my contractual partners, is that an issue?
My contractual partners.
Well, that is not
to answer, Elena?
Oh, yes, I can. I'm sorry. I thought whenever I hear legal, I think it's.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So that is not an issue. No, not at all. You already have a contractual agreement in place for your team organization. So that's actually a good thing, because you're sure and you're secured that all the team members will going to have the same goal and going to participate in the LEDGER project, and they're not going to abandon you, not even in that way. So I think it's actually a good thing, in my opinion, yes.
Yep. But still get the fact that we want. I mean, if we are giving up to 200,000 for a year of work. We want to see people fully devote to the project. So, try to shape a team that, is working on the project. It doesn't have to be 3 people full time. It can be maybe 2 people full time, and then you have 3 people working on part time or so. But we want to see people really committed to the project.
Okay. One person is asking if we need an ecologist or chemical engineer on the team.
You need it. Well, it's difficult. I don't know. It depends on your project.
I suppose it must have been a very project-specific question. I suppose the more people you have involved, the best. Because that's a common rule. The more people you have dedicated to a project, the more success you can get out of it, I suppose.
I think they are asking, we need an ecologist, a chemical engineer on the team. If you know one, you're welcome. So they are basically asking for or looking for a team member. So if anyone, knows one or wants to get involved, I guess they can contact them. I will invite you to post that in the community so the people get aware of it, because right here, I don't know how they could be able to contact you.
Okay, next question. What is the expected outcome of the minimum viable product? I've seen on the community page that the resulting work must be open source. Is that correct?
Well, basically, yes. We want to see open software and open license solutions. and the initiative Next Generation Internet, that is the one that is promoting this project, expects that the results are open software. So the answer is yes.
Okay, another question. Our team has 2 additional members beyond the core 3 roles, business, research, technical. Should we take them into account in the application form, and if so, where?
The answer is yes. The stronger your team, the better. Right now, by heart, I don't know to tell you where, but I think there is a section about the team. I know that you can fulfill just, I think, 3 profiles, but then you can, in the team section, describe that your team is stronger or bigger than that, and I'm sure that will be assessed positively, as it shows that you have a stronger team, probably, and a more capacity to develop and build the MVP.
Okay, thank you. Another question that's more related to the researcher. So as you said, the researcher must have a master's degree. So in this case, our attendee is saying our researcher is doing his master's and his final thesis is about our project. Does he still pass the researcher eligibility criteria?
I think we will have to see the case specifically, but it sounds good to me. I mean, if he's doing the research in the project, I think it looks all right to me. So we'll have to see it once they submit it and double check that. But I would say yes, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, another team is asking, they're a team of 8 members, and can they make the introductory video a bit longer than 1 minute to include everyone? So can they go outside of the video guidelines?
We wouldn't recommend to go further than what is suggested, because the evaluations, they are going to have a lot of work. So it will be up to the evaluators to decide to watch it. I guess if you go a few seconds longer, it's not a problem. If you go much longer, it may be, play against you instead of adding. So the recommendation is try to stick to the time. Then if you make it a bit longer, I don't think it won't be a problem. If the video is great, I'm sure it will be, a good asset for your application.
Perfect. Another question that's coming in that comes more towards the candidate itself. Is working experience important, or having young, new graduated persons in the team is valuable for the commission?
So the question is that if having young graduates in the team is good.
Having young graduates and having work experience important?
Well, I guess we want to. Sorry.
Can I maybe offer introduction? I think that the main goal with the experience that is required for the LEDGER project is that we make sure that you know how to do everything that you've described in the application, so that we have some idea that the level of your knowledge is enough in order to finish the project and develop the project in the way that you described in your application. So if you can point out that even though you don't have work experience, you have enough experience in that area in order to finish the project, then I think that would not pose a problem. Do you agree, Andres?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. Thank you for this answer, Elena. So another question, if one can apply as a legal entity or a group of natural persons, which would be preferable? Also, what do you consider a decentral organization, collective?
Oh, I can also answer that. So in one point, in the final point of the program, you will have to construct the legal entity. You will have to be ready to construct legal entity in order to participate in the marketing and commercialization process. So if you already have a legal entity, then it would be better to apply as that, in that form. And also in the question of decentralized structure, I don't think that's actually necessary for the application to be decided on, or that's something that is not a problem question or of the ledger interest, whether you're decentralized or centralized organized entity or company or a group.
Perfect, thank you, Elena, that was very clear. Okay, so I see another question for the entrepreneur profile in case of the legal entities. The company SME should be created or just have to be created during the project? So I think you kind of answered that question also at the same time. So no, if you apply as a group of individuals, the SME does not have to be created, but during the project at some point it will have to be defined and legally created. Okay, another question that's more about the technical and business support. So can you tell me more about the form of business and the research support that the teams will have? Will it be taking place online? How often would we be able to get in touch with them?
Yeah, well, I can reply this one. So every team will have one researcher in residence coming from the DINE community, and also one business mentor coming from Blue Morphos community, like kind of their advisory board during the process, all along the 9 months. The meeting with these mentors will be done online and should happen with certain regularity. And in addition to this support and to this regular mentoring, there will be also, we have the voucher experts, the voucher experts that are specialists from one area, specific area, that the teams can decide to consult specifically for one topic, one or several times. Also, in this case, this would happen online, and also with the support and keeping track of it of the research in residence and the business mentor.
Perfect, thank you, Cito. Okay, we have a very specific question. Can you explain the tax implication of receiving this funding as an individual? Maybe Andres?
Yes. Well, you will have to declare it basically as part of your income, and you will have to pay some taxes. I don't know exactly how much, but of course it's something you need to declare, and that you will be charged by your country, but it varies a lot depending on the country. So, you know, it's not a standard, but it's a specific thing of each country you are resident.
No VAT though, right, Andres?
No VAT, yeah, no VAT.
Okay, thank you, Andres. Do you see any more questions? I see that we have answered a lot. Speaking to the audience, if you have more questions, feel free to send them.
There are a few more, I think, Cassandra, at the end.
Okay, I see one here. Are non-profit projects eligible?
Yes, they are eligible. Totally. I mean, but we want to see sustainability, but you don't need to be for profit.
Okay, perfect. Andres, if you see some questions, feel free to read them out so that we can make sure that everyone has their questions answered.
Okay, let me see. I see a few here. Is it possible to submit the application in the name of a legal entity and then change the legal entity if we spring off the business into a new legal entity? Well, this sounds a bit weird. I don't see why you should be doing that. So it doesn't sound too good to me. I don't know, Elena, you are the legal expert here, but
yes, I think I started answering that question. Yeah, of course, it's possible to change your legal entity during the project. I mean, we do not have any specific entities that we are looking for. I mean, SMEs, of course, but like I said, I do not think that you will become that big so that you will not be eligible to participate in LEDGER project. But yes, if it comes naturally out of the process, and if it's easier and more efficient to have another form of legal entity in order to proceed with your development and with your growth, then yes, it's possible. I don't see why not. It's all in the name of progress and evolution, and your natural business and market evolution. So yes, I believe that is possible.
okay. One point there. One thing we don't want to see is that you submit the application with a team and then you have another team to execute the project. And we are not gonna to be really flexible with that. So please try to be really including the application the people that is gonna execute the project really.
Yes, good point. Thank you.
Yeah, there are a few more questions that are coming up. Should I read one or two, Cassandra?
Sure, feel free, Andres.
Yeah. This one says, regarding the vertical energy and sustainability, will it be possible to elaborate on the particular interests of LEDGER? Data privacy was already mentioned. It would be great if you could add further perspective. Thank you.
Okay, shall I go with this one?
Go for it, Marco.
Okay, sorry, because my mic in that one doesn't work. So as you can see in the work program, the idea is to experiment in smart grid and decentralized energy production and distribution, what we call also the Internet of Energy. So experimenting in renewable production and distribution using, a sort of, for example, mixing the functionalities of the router for the internet and the smart meter for electricity, and to give more and more autonomy to what we define in the work program as prosumers, so producers and consumer of renewable energy. So this is the kind of sphere we would like application to experiment on. That said, we are very aware that there are constraints at the regulatory level, and so we keep the general leitmotif of the LEDGER work program, which is to try to propose and invent new business models whereby, for example, in this vertical, the energy produced and consumed can also be, a sort of income generating asset. So the prosumers can enjoy also a sort of revenue from participating in the smart grids. So these are the ingredients we are putting there. So not only privacy, as you said, but more and large, a more decentralized and autonomous way to produce renewable energy and exchange it.
Thank you, Marco.
Maybe I have an interesting question that everyone seems to ask, and we are always answering it, but it doesn't hurt to answer another time. Can I pose the question?
Sure, go ahead.
So the thing is about licensing and the protection, IP protection of the product. So people are wondering if they have to protect their product with open source licenses. So the answer, we have two things that needed to be said. So the technology that we are providing as Dyn and also Ledger project is all open source. So in order to use it, you have to protect your product with something that is compatible to our licenses that are MIT Apache, so the one that are not viral, and the one that are, so the copyleft and non-copyleft open source licenses. But if you don't want to use our technology, of course you can protect your product as you wish, because it is yours to protect. So when you are applying for the Ledger project, be aware that the project grades your application based on every detail. So even that, you will not probably receive the best marks if you are planning to protect your product with a commercialized license. So that is it. When we are going to evaluate your proposition and your application, the grades you're going to receive are not going to be highest in that point. So that's it, but it's still your property, everything that you submit to Ledger. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good point. We got to that question many times. Indeed, we are gonna write, just if we are gonna write about it in the community. So if you want to get more information, ask more questions, go there and ask them. There are many more questions. Maybe we're gonna go for a couple of them, and then we'll close. And if you have questions, you can go to the community. There is one here saying, for example, about your technology. Where can I see what technology is this? Is it mandatory to use in our project application? This is a Dyn question. Lena? Cito?
Sorry, I haven't heard that. What did you ask?
Yeah, they are asking about the technology that is provided. Where can I see what technology is the one that it will be available? And is it mandatory to use it in our project application?
So no, it's not mandatory to use our technology in your application. The technology we are providing, you can see it all on dyne.org, so dyne.org. The official website, but these are all the softwares that we are developing as a part of Decent, Decode, and now Ledger project. So social wallet and all the other softwares, and also we are going to develop something specifically for you and for your project, because we are into research and developing of new software. So that is something that we are going to provide. The software developed using our base, developed for your needs and for your project specifically. But on dyne.org, you can see what we developed so far, and you can also go to our GitHub to see the source code and specifications of all the projects that we are working on. So yes, that's it. But you don't have to include it in your application.
Nicolaus Niotis is saying that the open license eligibility is not clear. Elaborate what is expected with IPR protection versus open licensing. I think this topic is coming up quite regularly. I don't know if you want to add something here, Elena, But in any case, we are gonna post something in the community, and we will pay a bit attention to further questions there. So just so you know, I don't know if you want to add something about it, Elena.
Yes, well, I already, that's why I answered it. I'm just answering it now, the question. So open licenses is on you. You're the owner of your product. The more percentage you are willing to provide in open source form, the bigger chances you have to proceed in the Ledger project, because we are searching for those products. But if you wish, it is your product, you can protect it as you wish. You can also dual license it, so you can protect it as open source, but also protect it in some other form if for some other client that you come across. And also commercializing open source licenses is a part of the program and part of the competition. So we are going to learn, beside you, how to commercialize the open source licenses and community as a whole. So that is what it is. It is yours, you can do whatever you want, but if you're open source, you have more chances for participating in the Ledger project. If not, there are other fundings that can help you. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you, Elena. Okay, I see one question that's mostly focused on the application form. We are a self-funded research institute, and we're hoping to get an industrial collaborator for this project. Would we put in our current funding or ask the collaborator also? Okay, I'm not sure I've understand the question. Would we put in our current funding or ask the collaborator also? In the history of funding of the team, section 4.9. Andres, do you understand this question?
Let me read it again. Just how history funding of the team. We are a self-funded research institute, and we are hoping to get an industrial collaborator for this project. Will we put in our current funding or ask the collaboration? Well, the question is not clear, but I guess when you do the proposal, you can apply as two entities. Usually we need one of them to be the leader, but if you are proposing to do a project with another legal entity, it will be fine if you write the proposal with the two members, just highlighting what role is going to take each, and then how the funding is going to be distributed among the partners is your decision. We will be paying just to the leader, and we will ask you to make an internal agreement, a private agreement between the parties, so you decide how you want to split the funding. So that is an internal question that you should sort out internally, and we won't get into that, but we would like to see that you have clear what is the planning for that.
Okay, thank you, Andres. Okay, the time is flying. I see maybe one more question. Can we apply to the trust call and the ledger call? Is there any problem if we get selected at both? So I suggest, so from what I understand, can we apply to multiple European projects? I think that's the underlying question.
Yeah, the answer is you can apply, but you cannot get funding from more than one of the projects. So if you want to, increase your possibilities, you could consider to apply to more than one open call. But the European Commission is quite adamant that the funding gets spread among as many participants as possible. So there is an issue with double funding. So You can apply, but you cannot get funding from more than one.
Thank you, Andres. That was very clear. Okay, I guess we will wrap up this Q&A session. Elena, Andres, Cito, Marco, do you have any final comments?
Yes, I would just like to say to people, do not be afraid, apply. If you do not go through, apply again. And happy hacking.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, just apply, submit the button as soon as possible, and go to the LEDGER community where we will be answering as soon as possible any questions you may have. So we keep the Q&A open there.
Exactly. So as you know, there's a whole community on the FundingBox.com LEDGER community where you can ask all your questions, and we can find all the documentation about applying and the application form and everything related to the LEDGER project. So don't hesitate to go and ask your questions. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this webinar. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you, Andres, for your detailed presentation. Elena as well on the verticals and Cito. And you will find this recorded version on a follow-up email with the slides. So you will all have access to the recording and to this PowerPoint presentation. And don't hesitate to finish up your application if you haven't started. The time is ticking. We only have 1 week left. And of course, we're always here to support you in this process. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
Bye, everyone.